All
Because it's
right.
Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. Hello, everyone. Okay, so let me just make sure that we're, good to go. One sec. Make sure we're live. Oh, yes. Okay, good. We're there. Just make
I feel
sure.
live. I
Yeah,
feel
we
like
are.
we're.
No, we're definitely live. It was just making sure. We've just had issues in the past, so just give me a second.
Oh,
Okay.
2020. That means, I have expectations that on January 1st, it's going to be unicorns
We'll
and
never
rainbows
we'll
and
never have
sunshine.
issues again.
That's right.
Okay. So, welcome back. This is we are Systematic Excellence Consulting. I'm Amelie Schaefer. This is Janine Suvak. This is Masterfully Integrated. We're here every Friday. And we help businesses run more efficiently. And so today, with that as the theme, we're going to talk. Well, first of all, we've been doing a series on based on the book Fix This Next by Mike Michalowicz. Both Janine and I are Fix This Next advisors, and we've been going through his business hierarchy of needs model and doing our podcast episodes and our masterfully integrated episodes based on those topics. So we're just continuing that series. We will share the link to our podcast. You can listen to the full interviews. I'll put those in the comments. And then today we're going to talk about minimizing wasted effort. So this is really important because wasted effort is essentially money, right? Especially even if it's just you, if you personally are wasting your efforts, it's still money. But in particular, if you have team members and they're wasting effort, you're wasting money by paying them more, because your processes aren't refined. So what we want to do is we want to talk just quick fixes. First of all, quickly how to very quickly evaluate what's happening in your business and to determine if you're wasting effort, one, and then two, how to make quick fixes to it. So if you don't have a ton of time to dedicate to, redoing all of your processes, we want to provide you some quick solutions. And then the last thing is we have an announcement to make for our business, so we'll do that at the end. It's exciting, and but anyway, so let's just start from the beginning. So in order to if you don't have the time to do an in-depth, evaluation of everything that's going on in your business, we'll go over some quick fixes. So quick ways to evaluate what you're doing. And so my first thing is it recorded? Because if it's not recorded, most likely you're doing things like maybe out of order, or you're doing things in a different order every time, or you're forgetting steps and then having to go back and change it. And so I would say if it's not recorded, the first thing would be just to record it to make sure that it's happening the same way every time. If the task allows for that. If it doesn't, obviously that's a different story. So that would be my first recommendation. And it doesn't have to be some, special written out SOP or whatever. If at the very least, if you can just record a Loom or Zoom video for yourself or for someone else, so that and create like a quick checklist in your project management tool, that will help you to make sure that you're completing things in the most efficient order possible. So that's my recommendation. What about you, Janine? Just for evaluating, that's how to evaluate.
Just for evaluating, I know we talk about, so this is again for quick fixes as opposed to the long fix. We talk about logging your time, doing a
Yeah.
time analysis of things, but that does add to your task load while you're doing that. So it's not a quick fix, but it leads to the long-term, really excellent fixes. The short-term ones is like, I would just take a quick think as you're doing things of, can you batch them? So if you're dealing with your communications,
Yeah.
because communications are probably the number one biggest distractor, whether it's notifications, emails, phones, you name it. It's
Mhm.
like just making the decision to
Mhm.
allot a time or two times in your day for communications and
Yep.
sticking to that. It makes such a difference to your productivity because of you've removed interruptions
Mhm.
in your thought process at the same time, because it takes longer to reorient on whatever it is you were doing when you were interrupted. It's not just an addition of
Yeah.
simple math of the
Yep.
time. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I think that I might have kind of jumped the gun because I gave a quick fix. But so another way to evaluate it, I would say look at your calendar, right? And looking at your calendar and like if you don't have the time to do the time analysis, which we highly recommend at some point you do that. But if you don't, looking at how your calendar is blocked off, and if you're taking calls like at random times throughout any day throughout the week, right? That is going to be wasted effort, because where you're mostly going to waste the effort, and this could be you or your team members, if you're asking your team members to get on calls with you throughout the day, or they're getting on client calls for you, whatever, um, switching context switching from, okay, a call to a project, to a call to a project, or responding to messages in Facebook, or whatever it looks like. But if you're context switching, you're wasting effort. I think there's like it's like we reduce our productivity by like 40% when we do context switching. And so a way to quickly evaluate it is look at your calendar and look where you have your calls booked. So if you are looking at your calendar for the week and you see you have calls booked sort of all over the place, that is one way to quickly say, you know what, I'm probably wasting effort. And you might not be able to quickly calculate how much effort you're wasting, but you can look at it and say, okay, I am wasting effort by context switching. Then the quick fix for that is to move all your calls as much as possible, move them to specific days of the week. For example, Janine and I take calls, like our client calls, our discovery calls, on Mondays and Fridays. And then on Wednesdays, we have when we do like our intensives or like our long project calls where we'd be on with a client, onboarding is on Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are work days. There has to be a very special like reason that we would take calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We make it we can be flexible, but it's usually not till the afternoon, because we're working on projects during that time. So if you can quickly look at your calendar and see where things are happening, and then sort of box them together, like Janine mentioned, batching them together. So not just responding to messages in like Slack or social media, but your calls, your actual calls, like batching them together will help to minimize that effort quickly.
Yeah, and I have to say that batching our work time is huge. And for us, we happen to both be morning people. So having that time during the time of day when we're strong is just as important, because you can spend the same, even batching your time. If you're putting it, like if I put that at 2 p.m, sorry, Amelie, it's not getting done.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Exactly. But no, I mean, we
I'm
know
game
that,
on at
yeah.
6 a.m, booyah, and I don't even need coffee for that,
Right. Yeah, exactly. So,
Um,
I definitely think that that's a quick way to evaluate yourself, your team. So you can tell your team to evaluate their schedule and ask them, are there changes that need to be made so that way you can be more efficient? And then, offering them the option to batch the calls and batch your meetings too. So if you guys need to have a planning meeting, make sure that it's, not just like in the middle of when they're working on a project. So if they're working on a process, let's say they're doing, I don't know, like producing the podcast or your podcast or something, they're in the middle of that. You don't want to have a meeting right in the middle of them doing that, because then they're going to stop and get back to it and it'll take longer. And then there will be lots of wasted effort from doing that. Or if you're in the midst of writing something, writing a blog or creating content or something, and then you have to stop, go to a meeting, and then get back to what you're doing, it's really, you're really wasting your money at that point, because,
yeah. Or
go ahead.
that,
Sorry.
and especially, for with your next product development, it's like as the visionary for your company, it's like you need to have that creative time just as
Right.
much as you need to have that networking and connection time.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something though about the your team versus yourself, right? Because people's mentality is usually like, oh yeah, I'm paying those guys. There better not be any wasted time. But the reality is your time is the most valuable per hour of anyone. So consider that when you're considering, if you only have so much time to fix one thing, it probably needs to be yourself first. And we have a fun little time value calculator. If you want to know how much your time is actually worth, we'll throw that.
Yeah, I'll put that in the link. I'll put that in the comments. I mean, I'll put the link in the comments. So I think those are some quick ones. If you have more time, having yourself and your team do the time analysis where you record every minute of what you're doing throughout the day for an entire week, that will help. That will be the most effective way of evaluating, where your effort is being wasted or not. But if you don't have the time, quickly, you can look at your calendar. You can look when you can take mental note of when you're checking messages or when you're responding to messages. And it's important to train your team members and your clients on how you respond to things. So a lot of people use Voxer and Slack as part of their services. So, for us, when we have someone where we work with them in a mentoring and coaching capacity, we offer Voxer as an option, but we let them know that there is a boundary around when we'll respond. We have at least, one business day to respond. Usually we respond before then, but we have that boundary around it. And then we set a boundary around, okay, I'm only going to answer these messages during this time. I have 3 blocks throughout the day when I answer messages. Now, if I don't have anything going on, will I go in and answer messages outside that time? Sure. But if I do, I know that time is blocked off specifically for that. So I will do it. If I have something going on, I won't just check in the middle of it, because then I get distracted and then it's harder for me to get back into whatever I was working on to begin with. So
yeah. And it's funny because if you feel like that's uber regimented or not personal or whatever, it's a matter if you set the expectations, and professionals understand they're managing their time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important when I am responding to someone or when someone's asking me a question, I want to be able to give them my full attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to give whatever I'm working on my full attention too. So I can't do both, right? No, I can't. I'm just
Yeah,
not,
it's
I
actually,
only have,
you are giving more quality, valuable time by organizing
yeah.
it like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we hope that those tips are helpful. Again, we'll
Mm-hmm.
put the link to the full podcast episode in the comments so you can listen to that. We did an extensive walkthrough of helping you to minimize your wasted effort. So with that said, we'd really like to talk about a new service. So we've spent a lot of time refining our podcast production process. We have a team that does our podcast start to finish. All we do is record it, and then it gets delegated to them, and it's taken care of to the point of publishing and promoting it. So as we've done that, we are excited to offer 4 spots for that same service. And so because we've been able to refine it and train our team members on not wasting any effort when they're doing this process, we've been able to get it down, refine it, and it's very smooth and does, like, we're just able to get it done efficiently. And so we are opening up 4 spots for for clients to come on board, and our team will not just produce it, but manage the process, design, copy, social media posting, all of those things. And so we will put the link to book a call in order to discuss your needs, and as far as where you're at with your podcast and that kind of thing. And then we can tell you all the different elements that are involved in it. But we're really excited. We're really proud of our team, and we've been able to, like I said, create this process that is smooth and is essentially, it runs on its own. Everyone knows what they need to do. We've got the SOPs and all of that. So
Yeah, and that's really
go
the
ahead.
secret that you don't see, right? It's like, what do we see out there all the time, especially in the marketing world, right? Where it's like, oh, just all you have to do is record this thing and hand it off, or take it and here's how you can produce 30 pieces of content from your video or your podcast or something. And it sounds super easy, but it's not if you don't know how to do that. It's not if you don't have the team. It's not if
Yeah.
you don't know what you're looking for, if you're going to hire a team. And it's not, if it were that simple, everybody would be doing it, when in fact
Yeah.
it just blows up into this hairball of work. Just a podcast episode, let alone turn around and multi-purposing that, and which is what our team does. We get the blog out of it, we get all the social media channel assets out of it, and for Amelie and I, it's like we actually do record it, hand it off, and we're done.
Yeah.
So all the way, not just the production, but the publication in
Yeah.
all the various places, from the podcast platform to the blog
Yeah.
to the social media channels. And it is a glorious thing.
Yeah. And it's taken a long time to refine the process. So, it took going through it multiple times to figure out what is the most efficient way. And it has taken time to train the team and stuff. And so that's why we are excited to offer it now to other people. We recently we are working with a client right now where we've been able to set up their podcast process and help them kind of work through that. And so we realize that it's something that we can offer support to other people. And so we think, because it is a robust process, because it does take time. Like, we've refined it, but it still takes time. We're gonna test out 4 spots and see how that goes. And if we're available to take on more, then we will. But we think that taking on 4 clients with 4 podcasts is going to be the max that we're going to be able to offer in order to maintain the high quality service that we offer. So if you're interested in that, if you're not sure, again, we'll put the link to book a call and jump on a call with us. We'll have a discussion, figure out what your needs are, and figure out if it's a good fit for both of us, and then we can go from there. So thanks for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. If you're watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay. And then again, we'll put the link. So I'm going to put the links to the call about the podcast service, the link to our podcast so you can listen to the full interview, and the time value calculator, which is super important. You can actually put in your hourly rate and figure out
it's based on your productive time versus your non-productive time.
Yeah, exactly.
And
sorry.
So and you
So
get
it'll
to set
be
that ratio.
eye-opening, but so I'll put the link to that in the comments, and then and we'll go from there, and we will see you next Friday. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope you have a great weekend.
Yep, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.